All right, we might make a start. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our GaiaBuilder webinar. We hope you've been having a great day so far. My name is Lucy, and I look after the marketing at GP1. I'm joined today by Nick, who is in our Adelaide office, alongside Lynette and Daniel, who are based in Brisbane with myself, and Joel from Merkator Group, based in the Netherlands. We will be getting started in just a moment, but first I'd like to cover a few housekeeping notes, just so everyone will know how today will run. Throughout the webinar, you'll notice the Q&A chat is open. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll keep an eye on them during the session and answer what we can as we go. We'll also have a dedicated Q&A section at the end for any detailed questions or anything that comes up repetitively. If you'd like to ask your question live during that time, just let us know through the chat or the hand raise signal. Everyone will remain muted throughout the presentation just to limit the background noise and ensure the audio stays clear for all attendees. Only the organisers can unmute participants, so once you signal that you'd like to speak, we can unmute you from when it's your turn. We just ask for a little patience as we move through the questions one at a time. The session is also being recorded and we'll send out the recording afterwards, along with any links or resources we mention, so there's no need to worry about taking notes in real time. Today's session will run around 30 to 35 minutes and we'll move straight into the Q&A section at the end. And with all of that, I'll now hand over to Lynette to start us off for today.
Hey everyone. Before we begin, in the spirit of reconciliation, GP1 acknowledges the Turrbal and Yugur peoples as the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. Today, we're excited to introduce you to GaiaBuilder, a tool designed to simplify and streamline ArcGIS Enterprise deployments. If you've ever dealt with managing multiple services, multiple environments, repetitive manual publishing tasks, inconsistent configurations, or the ongoing challenge of keeping services aligned with deployment, test, and production, then you're in exactly the right spot. Before we dive in, we're also thrilled to share that we've extended our distribution into New Zealand and Papua New Guinea, strengthening our ability to support organizations across the region. In this session, we're going to walk through real-world challenges many teams face, explore the solution that GaiaBuilder provides, and then wrap up with a short demo to bring everything to life. At GP1 Consulting, we specialize in designing and delivering customized enterprise GIS solutions using location-based technologies. Our team works across a wide range of industries, from government and utilities to infrastructure and natural resources, helping organizations turn spatial data into actionable insight through web and mobile applications. We've grown steadily to a team of over 30 with offices across Wollongong, Brisbane, Adelaide, Townsville, and Cairns. That growth has come from a strong focus on long-term partnerships and solving real-world operational problems for our clients. At the core of everything we do is collaboration. We work closely with our clients and technology partners to make sure solutions are not just technically sound, but practical, secure, and scalable. What that looks like in practice is a broad set of GIS services. We support everything from ArcGIS Enterprise implementations and upgrades through to custom application development, system integrations, and ongoing managed support. A key part of our approach is working with trusted technology partners like Merkator Group. Partnerships like this allow us to bring world-class enterprise-grade tools to our clients without having to reinvent the wheel. Our goal is straightforward: help organizations work smarter, reduce operational overhead, and get more value out of the GIS platforms they've already invested in. So let's meet the team. I'll start off. My name is Lynette, and I used to work for Esri back in California at the Redlands headquarters. I was on their premium technical support team for ArcGIS Online and Enterprise. I joined GP1 over a year ago now, and I'm an account manager here. I work closely with our clients to understand their operational challenges and translate those into practical GIS solutions. My focus is making sure technology delivers real value, whether that's improving workflows, strengthening your security, or helping teams get more confidence in how they share and use spatial data. To talk about how we turn strategy into scalable technology, I'll hand over to Daniel.
Thanks, Lynette. Hi, everyone. I look after strategic growth and innovation at GP1 Consulting, building strategic partnerships and long-term relationships with our customers, suppliers, and partners. I've recently joined GP1 after almost 20 years in New South Wales Government at Spatial Services. My background is in GIS, remote sensing, web mapping, software development, cloud architecture, and leadership. My team at Spatial Services were responsible for administering several large ArcGIS Enterprise sites for New South Wales, and we faced a lot of challenges with effectively managing content across dev, test, and production environments. I'm excited about showcasing the functionality of GaiaBuilder to automate deployments. To talk more about that technology partnership, I'll hand over to Joel.
Thank you, Daniel. Hi, everyone. I'm joining from the Netherlands today. I've been working for almost 15 years now at Merkator as a GIS consultant, specializing in ArcGIS Enterprise administration, application configuration. The strong technical foundation has enabled me to grow into my role as product manager and lead developer of GaiaBuilder, where I lead the platform development and global implementations. With deep expertise in both the ArcGIS Enterprise environments, software development platforms, I help organizations streamline their geospatial workflows and maximize the value of their spatial data. Back to you, Daniel.
Thanks, Joel. Now that we've met the team, let's briefly introduce GaiaBuilder, the reason that you're all here. At a high level, GaiaBuilder helps organizations build an ArcGIS infrastructure that is more stable, more reliable, and much easier to manage. Instead of relying on manual steps and workarounds, GaiaBuilder uses smart automation to take pressure off GIS teams. That means less time spent repeating tasks, fewer mistakes, and far less risk when changes need to be made. By automating how updates move through your environments, teams save valuable time, reduce operational risk, and gain confidence that their GIS platform is set up to support future growth, not hold it back. This creates a future-proof foundation for all your geospatial work, while still allowing GIS specialists to stay focused on what they do best. Before we look at the solution in more detail, let's take a moment to talk about the challenges many GIS teams face today when publishing or updating content in ArcGIS Enterprise, and I'm sure they'll be familiar to many of you. The first challenge is that deployments are slow and risky. Updating ArcGIS content often involves a long list of manual steps: publishing services, updating configurations, copying content, and double-checking settings. Each step introduces risk, and if something goes wrong, rolling back to a previous state is rarely simple or quick. The second challenge is that environments drift out of sync. Development, test, acceptance, and production are meant to mirror each other, but when changes are applied manually, they slowly become different. What works in development doesn't quite match test, and production ends up being its own unique version. And that leads to the third challenge. There's no clear record of changes. GIS updates often happen outside standard IT processes, which means there's no easy way to see who changed what, when it happened, or why. Changes get lost, knowledge lives in people's heads, and teams lose confidence in what's actually running in each environment. I'll now hand over to Lynette to see how we can visualize what this looks like in practice and how these challenges build up over time.
Thanks, Daniel. Let's visualize what this looks like in practice. Starting in development, this is where changes usually begin. Someone updates a map, a service, an app, or a configuration. But to get that change ready for the next environment, it often requires manual input: publishing, configuring, validating, and double-checking settings. For something like a feature service alone, that can mean managing dozens, sometimes over 100 individual settings, covering capabilities, permissions, editing rules, relationships, and performance options. Once that work is done, the same steps need to be repeated again in test. Nothing automatically carries over. The same publishing steps, the same configuration choices, the same checks, all done manually over again. This is where the small differences start creeping in, even when everyone is doing their best to follow the same process. Then we move into production, where the pressure is the highest. Again, the same manual steps are repeated, often under time constraints. Because production is live, any mistakes here has an immediate impact. And if something goes wrong, rolling back isn't simple because there's no guaranteed record of how exactly each environment was set up. Now, many teams try to reduce this effort by using ArcGIS Online Assistant. It can help with copying content, particularly from development into another environment, but it's important to note that this still involves manual actions. Someone still needs to decide what to copy, where to put it, and how to configure it afterwards. Over time, this leads to a common pattern. Because the process is manual and time-consuming, teams start shortcutting development and tests, and changes get pushed directly into production to meet deadlines. This is the reality for many GIS teams working today, and it's exactly the kind of problem that GaiaBuilder is designed to address. So the solution. Here's where the shift is with GaiaBuilder. We still start in development. A GIS specialist makes a change, maybe a map update, a service tweak, or an app configuration. This requires an upfront implementation phase where GaiaBuilder is connected to your environments and the workflow is established, but that investment pays off every time a change moves forward. But once that's in place, the build effort drops dramatically. Instead of rebuilding and configuring the same thing in every environment, there's one deliberate manual action in development where we capture that change and commit it. Then that becomes the source of truth for the rest. From there, GaiaBuilder takes over. The change is automatically deployed to test using the same steps in the same settings every single time. No republishing, no reconfiguring by hand, just a consistent, repeatable process. Once it's approved, GaiaBuilder promotes the change to production the same way, automatically and consistently. So what worked in test works exactly the same in production. That means less risk, faster releases, and no more fixing things live. And because every change is tracked, there's clear visibility into who changed what, when it changed, and how it moved through environments, with a reliable rollback if it's ever needed. Environments stay aligned and teams can move with confidence. With GaiaBuilder, we replace repeated manual builds in every environment with one controlled action in development and a predictable automated path through test and into production. GaiaBuilder is made up of two main components. Together, they cover both the GIS and the automation side. The first component lives inside ArcGIS Pro. This is where GIS specialists work. It provides a simple, user-friendly interface that lets you define what should be deployed and how, without needing to write code or understand complex deployment tooling. The second component handles automated deployments. When change is defined, GaiaBuilder takes care of moving it through development, test, acceptance, and production in a consistent and controlled way. What GaiaBuilder is really doing here is applying DevOps principles to GIS. And DevOps doesn't mean new tools or complexity. It simply means tracking changes, automating repeatable steps, and moving updates through environments in a consistent way. GaiaBuilder brings those ideas into ArcGIS Enterprise in a way that GIS teams can actually use without needing deep IT or software engineering expertise. Now that we've seen how GaiaBuilder works, the next question is, who is it designed for? I'll hand over back to Daniel to walk us through that.
Thanks, Lynette. Now you might be wondering whether GaiaBuilder is the right fit for your organization. While it's a strong fit for organizations running ArcGIS Enterprise in more controlled or multi-environment setups, it's also flexible enough to support a wider range of use cases as well. GaiaBuilder is particularly well suited to GIS teams who are managing frequent changes and want smoother, more repeatable deployments without the manual overhead that usually comes with that. It's also a strong fit for IT teams who are moving towards or already using DevOps style practices and need a practical way to bring geospatial systems into that broader delivery model. If your organization is running ArcGIS Enterprise across multiple environments, such as development, test, and production, GaiaBuilder helps bring consistency, traceability, and automation to a setup that can otherwise be difficult to manage. And for teams that need reliable, auditable deployment processes, whether for governance, compliance, or simply peace of mind, that's where GaiaBuilder really comes into its own. Ultimately, GaiaBuilder is designed to help organizations achieve more predictable, automated, and well-governed ArcGIS Enterprise deployments. To bring this back to real-world outcomes, I'll hand over to Lynette.
Thanks, Daniel. Now that we've explored who GaiaBuilder is for, let's look at the real-world advantages teams experience once they start using it. The first big advantage is reduced risk and easy recovery. Every change is tracked, versioned, and safely stored. That means if something goes wrong, a misconfiguration, a failed deployment, or an unexpected issue, teams can quickly roll back to a known stable version. That leads directly to the second advantage, confidence and peace of mind. Instead of worrying about what might break in production, teams can focus on delivering good GIS outcomes, knowing they always have visibility and control over their changes. The third advantage is controlled team collaboration. Multiple people can work on the same GIS solution at the same time without overwriting each other's work. This removes bottlenecks, improves productivity, and makes teamwork much smoother. And finally, fast and reliable promotion across environments. Moving changes from development to test and into production becomes a consistent automated process. No copy-paste steps, no misconfigurations, and no surprises, just predictable deployments every time. Together, these advantages help organizations reduce risk, work faster, and run ArcGIS Enterprise in a far more controlled and professional way. Before we move into the demo, it's worth briefly highlighting the breadth of the content GaiaBuilder supports within ArcGIS Enterprise. GaiaBuilder isn't limited to a single content type or use case. It's designed to work with a full range of services, applications, workflows, and integrations that organizations rely on day to day. On the screen, you'll see examples across a few key areas, from core map and feature services to modern web apps like Experience Builder and dashboards, through to workflows, notebooks, and third-party integrations such as Vertigis. The key takeaway is that you don't need different tools or custom scripts for different types of ArcGIS content. GaiaBuilder brings everything through a single consistent deployment process, even in complex GIS environments. That consistency becomes especially valuable as platforms grow, and it's what allows teams to scale without adding risk or operational overhead. Now let's move from concepts and into real-world action. Nick will take us through a live demo so you can see exactly how GaiaBuilder automates deployments and streamlines ArcGIS Enterprise workflows.
Thanks, Lynette. Before Nick dives into the demo itself, I'm just going to set the scene and explain what you're going to see in the demo. So for demo purposes today, we'll keep things simple and use a single environment, but we'll clearly label and treat it as dev, test, and production so you can see how the process works. The focus of this demo isn't the data itself, it's the deployment workflow. We'll make some simple changes and promote them between environments. The demo focuses on a simple Experience Builder application, so you can clearly see the changes we will be making. So here's what we'll walk through in the demo. First, we'll look at some web experience applications in both development and test. It's the one application, but it's been configured in development and test, just to show that everything starts off identical. Then we'll make a small set of changes in development, changing the base map, adding some widgets. And then once the changes are ready, Nick will capture them and commit them into the repository and promote them into test using the deployment pipeline. This shows how the updates move across environments in a controlled way. The goal of the demo isn't to show every feature of GaiaBuilder because there's a lot of them. It's to show how GaiaBuilder makes deployments predictable, repeatable, and low risk. With that context, I'll hand over now to Nick to share his screen and jump into the demo. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Daniel. Hi, everyone. I'm Nick, and I'll be walking through the demo. So as many of how you work within ArcGIS Pro and GIS, you'll be starting with your portal environment. As Daniel mentioned, we've only got a single portal environment, so we'll be have the different folders here for dev, test, and prod to distinct our different environments. As well, in each of these folders, we've got our items that are of interest to us, which are the web map and experience builder here and here as well. Up the top, we can see that we've got our dev dashboard here and our test dashboard, and currently they are exactly the same. So We can start by going into our web map in our dev environment, and we can update the web map to an imagery-based map and just save the changes like that. Then going into Experience Builder, we've got our dev dashboard here. We can grab just a simple widget controller and put in a map layer widget and a legend widget. Saving our changes here, we can then just quickly go into the live view and we can confirm that both of these widgets are working fine. So we can make sure our changes are saved and then publish our dashboard. And then that concludes our workflow on the enterprise. So then we can move over to ArcGIS Pro, where we've got our GaiaBuilder add-in installed. In the add-ins tab, we can go to the update content tool, click on that, and then go into our already configured repository, which has all of our items in there. What this will do is with the item IDs that it has, it will pull down the data config from our web map and dashboard and pull them down locally to our Git repository. Coming over to GitHub and GitHub Desktop for us, we can see all of our changes here. For your business, this might be some other different versioning software like Azure DevOps. All of these steps will work exactly the same depending on what your business prefers to use. So in here, we're currently in our dev branch and we've got all our changes here to the data files. And we've got a nice detailed commit title and commit message here to describe what changes were made. We can then commit these changes to the repository and then push them from our local repository up into the cloud where it's stored online. From here, our changes are saved and we can start the process of migrating our changes from the development environment into the test environment. So for GitHub Desktop, we can do a pull request from the dev branch into the test branch that will automatically see what changes have been made and we can create a pull request. For auditing purposes, this can be configured so that it's only certain people are authorized to do these, approve them. For us, it will just be myself who's approving it. And once we confirm the pull request and we merge the changes into our test branch, this will then trigger off the GaiaBuilder build processes. And what that will do is take our pulled down data layers or data files, and it will do the necessary processes of doing any rewrites that are required from moving our items from dev into test. And then it will upload those rewritten files into our test environment, updating our experience builder and our web map. So depending on how much you've got updating, it can take a little bit. So if we come into our test environment now, we can simply just reload our dashboard and we can see that all of our changes have just instantly been pulled through. We could have got our map layers widget here, which is functioning as we tested it in our dev environment, and our legend widget as well. So that concludes the demo from me. I'll hand it back over to you, Daniel.
That was a great demonstration. Thanks very much, Nick. And it's pretty common for live demos to go awry, but in this case, nothing went wrong. It was great to see. So thanks, Nick. So let's just quickly recap what we just walked through. We started by making a controlled change in development across both a web map and experience builder application. Nick then committed that change into the Git repository and promoted that change to the test environment without redoing manual steps and with confidence that the environment stayed consistent. The key takeaway is that GaiaBuilder replaces repeated manual effort with a predictable, controlled process, making deployments safer, easier, and far less stressful. I'll now hand back over to Lynette to wrap up.
Thanks, Daniel and Nick. It was a really great walkthrough of GaiaBuilder in action. To wrap things up, let's bring this back to the key outcomes that we've spoken about today. First, faster deployments. What typically takes hours or even days can be reduced dramatically because manual steps are replaced with a controlled, repeatable process. In the demo, you saw how changes moved quickly without redoing work in each environment. Second, instant rollback. Instead of scrambling to fix issues live, teams can quickly restore a previous stable version. That means less downtime, lower risk, and far less pressure when something doesn't go to plan. Third, full transparency. Every change is recorded, giving clear visibility into what was modified and when. This makes governance, audits, and troubleshooting far simpler than relying on memory or manual notes. And finally, future-proof operations. Because GaiaBuilder aligns with Esri's roadmap, organizations can adopt new capabilities like utility network and other evolving platform features without rethinking how deployments are managed. Taken together, these outcomes address the exact challenges that we started with: speed, risk, consistency, and control, now delivered in a practical, real-world way. That wraps up the main presentation, and I'll hand over to Lucy to lead the Q&A session.
Thanks, Lynette. Before we move on to the Q&A section, we'd really appreciate your feedback. I've just dropped the link in the Q&A section there for our feedback survey. Also, feel free to scan the QR code on the screen. It just takes a couple of minutes and really helps us improve for future webinars. With that, we'll move into the Q&A section. A few questions have come through, so we'll start by addressing those. And if a question comes up as we go, feel free to pop it in the chat. Also, if we don't get to all of them today, we will make sure to have follow-up sessions as well. I will just get those up now. Cool. So our first question is, how are map services or feature services stored in the Git repository? For web map items, there's the JSON, but how would this look for map services and feature services?
I'll start with the basics of this one. So for map services and feature services, when you deploy your map service or feature service using ArcGIS Pro, that saves a service definition. And so it's that service definition or set of service definition files that are committed to the Git repository. So there's some JSON files and XML files, but they all get committed. And I don't know if Nick or Joel wanted to add any more detail to that.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I can. Yeah,
I'll let you go,
Nick,
Joel.
please go ahead. Yeah, yeah, okay. So for map services and feature services, there's of course this very important component called the ArcGIS server, where part of this configuration is stored for, let's say, the editing capabilities and the min max arcsoc settings, and basically everything you can configure on the service itself. And what GaiaBuilder does, it goes both to the portal to read all the portal settings, how the item is shared, thumbnail, and also to the ArcGIS server to fetch all that configurations from there, stores it into your Git repository as well. And finally, there's the mapx document, which contains the map configuration itself. And all these configurations go together into the Git repository. And then once you run the pipeline on GitHub or Azure DevOps, these configurations get applied to your target ArcGIS server and target portal. So this is how the map services and feature services are being handled from, let's say, the JSON and Git perspective. Hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Tom.
Amazing. We've got another question in from Anthony. Does the item ID remain the same across the environments?
Nick, do you want to have a go at this one?
Yep. So this will largely depend on how your environments are set up. So for our case, since everything's on a single portal environment, the item IDs will have to be different for us. If you're dealing with exclusively different test, UAT, and prod environments, then those item IDs can be maintained across the 3 different environments.
Thanks, Nick.
Maybe in addition to this, some people may know that you can enforce these item IDs across the different portals using the ArcGIS API for Python, and they have great examples out there to do this for, let's say, web maps, experiences, and other purely portal-based content. However, with GaiaBuilder, we extend this also to let's say map services and feature services, and this will really help you to keep those links between maps and services completely working, and references between, let's say, a dashboard dashboard configuration where you fetch the data based on an item ID from a service. That will keep working as well.
Great, thank you. Just got another one. I see the source is stored in a branch for each environment. How do you know what is the true source for that item? Sorry.
Yeah, so I'll take this one. So that's up to you how you want to configure your DevOps environment. You can just use a single branch if you wish to, and just deploy a single commit from a single branch across all of your, through several stages in a pipeline to deploy to the multiple environments. Or you can save things into a master branch and then deploy from that master branch into dev, test, production branches, and deploy from there. So it's really up to you how you want to configure that DevOps deployment pipeline. But yeah, typically, I think most people would probably, there's a lot of variety, I suppose. There's, but you would normally deploy a commit from your dev environment up through your UAT environment and then deploy it to production. And then you can pull also changes from production back into dev as well.
Great, thank you, Daniel. We got one from Belinda. What version of Azure Enterprise is the minimum requirement?
I might pass this one to Joel.
Yeah. So with GaiaBuilder, we try to support every ArcGIS Pro version and every ArcGIS Enterprise version that Azure also provides support for. So right now, this is still ArcGIS Enterprise 10.8.1. We officially support. Please don't use that anymore. There are better versions out there, but if you really must, then we make that possible for you.
Thank you. Our next question, how does it handle referenced services in particular, or does it only handle hosted services?
I'll give the brief answer again. It handles both referenced and hosted services. It doesn't copy data around. It is copying the service definitions. And so for those referenced services, when you deploy that referenced service from your dev environment to your test environment, you save those service references. So it will point to the underlying data. So you'll still have a dev database and a test database and a production database. And as you deploy through the environment, it can reference the appropriate database for the tier that you're deploying it to.
Amazing. And another one we've got, does GaiaBuilder allow for Vertige's deployments?
I'm pretty sure I saw that on Lynette's slide. I believe that it does support Vertiges. Did you want to say any more about that one, Lynette?
Yeah, I guess I don't know the depth of if it just supports Vertiges as an integration like with Azure, or if it supports Vertiges on its own. So I guess that's where my question goes to Joel.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So Vertiges has many different application types: Vertiges Studio Web, Workflow, Print, and Reporting. and also the access control. So right now we support the Verticus Studio Web workflow print and reporting item types in the portal. The Studio Web and workflow, they're usually just regular portal items like, let's say, an experience. So it's very easy to support. And also when it comes to server workflows, which are not stored on the portal itself, but on the Verticus workflow server, they are supported as well. But you will need to have some additional setup on the pipelines with the OAuth sign-in that's needed to get that working, combined with one of the latest versions of the ArcGIS API for Python to get it to work. So it needs a little bit more attention to get this to work. But all those items can be migrated as well. And for instance, when you do Verticus report, you also get the benefit that with GaiaBuilder, you get the same item ID for your reports on each portal as well.
Amazing. Cool. I think we'll leave the questions there for now, but if you have any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Thank you, Daniel, Nick, and Joel for answering those ones. Some really great questions today. And if we didn't get to them as well right now, and if anything comes up after the session, don't worry, we'll send up a follow-up email, and feel free to reach out as well. You'll receive our contact details in the post-webinar email to continue the conversation. And thanks again for everyone's time today. I'll hand over to Lynette to close out the session.
And as Lucy said, thanks everyone for joining us today. It's really great to see everyone here. We hope this session has given you a clear understanding of how GaiaBuilder can modernize, automate, and streamline your ArcGIS Enterprise deployments, all while reducing risk and improving consistency across the environment. A big thank you to Daniel and Nick for the demonstration and the insight, and Joel for being here as well from Merkator Group and partnering with us. Today's recording of the webinar and follow-up details will be sent out shortly after this, and we look forward to continuing the conversation and helping you explore how GaiaBuilder can support your GIS operations. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.